Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Climate. I'm Megan Spicer, ecoAmerica's Executive Director, coming to you from native Ohlone lands. I'm also your host for today, so thank you for joining. Let's Talk Climate is a webcast series from ecoAmerica, and we feature dynamic discussions with local and national leaders, offering diverse perspectives. Let's Talk Climate brings forth the latest thinking and best practices for building public support and political resolve for equitable climate solutions in the US. And today we're actually talking about our programs and resources and how we inspire people all around us to engage in climate action, and you can too, whether you are in your workplace or your congregation or even in your local community. So join me in welcoming our fantastic ecoAmerica program directors. Please welcome Annie Fett-Cruz, Director of Blessit Tomorrow. Hi, Annie.
Hi there.
And Rebecca Rear, Director of our Climate for Health program.
Hi, everyone.
And Honorable Jennifer Roberts, Director of our Path to Positive Communities program.
Great to be here.
Welcome, welcome everyone. So let's get started. Let's dive right in. So ecoAmerica research tells us that, and this is new research about to come out, 78% of Americans are concerned about climate change, including 48% of us who think we are very concerned about the issue. We also know that only 57% believe that others around us are concerned. So that's an incredible amount of people who are feeling quite concerned about climate change, but believing no one around them is, or few around them are concerned. So they're feeling very alone in their concern. So tell us about your programs. Who are they for? And how do they bring this concern out of the shadows and convert it into action? Rebecca, why don't we start with you?
Great. Thanks so much, Megan. So Climate for Health, a program of ecoAmerica, works with health professionals actually through their membership association. So we reach health professionals directly, but we work with those institutions like the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Public Health Association. Those are some of our partners, Society for Public Health Education. And I'm naming groups that we've recently done Climate for Health ambassadors trainings with. I'm sure we'll talk about that a bunch more because each of our programs has one. But we work with membership associations to reach health professionals. And that's across different types of health professionals like pediatricians, public health, clinical, medical, and we offer tools, resources, and communications to demonstrate visible climate leadership among health professionals, to build that health voice on climate action and make that health and climate connection. We empower health professionals as some of the most trusted messengers on climate. And anybody listening, you don't have to be a health professional. Health is a value. Health is something we all value, our own health, our family's health. I think about my grandma's health. I think about my sister's health. I think about my family's health and how we at different ages are vulnerable to climate change in different ways. And it affects our health differently at different life stages. And so we work with a community of health professionals, a network of health professionals to really talk about how climate change impacts us personally and why. And that's really why we're motivated to act on climate.
Absolutely. Annie?
Yeah, so very similar in the faith sector, of course, as Blessit Tomorrow is a program of ecoAmerica, but we're working to really work directly with faith leaders. So that could be clergy, congregations, entire faith institutions or denominations across a variety of faith traditions to help them connect their faith values with climate change and really think about how they can activate their membership, their individuals, but their leadership as well on climate advocacy and climate action, again, at a local level, at a state level, at a federal level. And so I often say, if you picture your regular commute to work pre-COVID or trip to the grocery store, you're probably passing several faith communities on the way. And you might even really be able to picture those buildings that you pass all the time, the church down the street or the synagogue down the street. And we are in community. We are community. There are doctors in the pews of these congregations, and so when we're talking about people feeling alone in their concern, we're there, we're sitting right next to them. So let's figure out how we can start conversations, how we can encourage ourselves to take action, but then how we can invite others to join us. really rooted in those faith values. So it's about amplifying the voices of people of faith within the the policy realm, but also making sure that we are using the strength of these individuals and also congregations to actually move forward on the goals that we're all trying to reach. So we offer a plethora of resources. I know we're going to dive into what those look like in a little bit, the ambassador program, our guides, etc. But that's where we're here to support this work at the local, state, and national levels.
Well, that's right. I mean, part of the challenge here in getting people to feel more inspired to engage on climate is really just to be talking about it, right? Bring it out, like actually bring it out of the shadows by talking about it, making it public. So talk to us how you're doing that with your communities program, Jennifer.
Sure. And much like the other two programs of ecoAmerica, the communities program, which is called Path to Positive Communities, because it's a path that we're taking, it's a journey to a positive outcome for everybody. That local program is, of course, encompasses faith leaders and health leaders, but we focus more on civic leaders. They could be city leaders, staff, or elected officials, could be county leaders, state officials, but also there are a lot of nonprofits in the community that have environmental advocates and climate advocates. And we want to reach beyond the usual folks to encompass the whole community, because everybody's voice is important. And so when we do ambassador trainings, we emphasize the fact that your local officials need to hear from you if we're going to change policy. Absolutely, there are things that you can do yourself, you can do in your own home and your community, in your neighborhood. There are lots of things that you can do, from community gardens to solar panels, but we also need policy to change. And we are hopeful that when we train local officials who may have 1,000 issues before them on any given day, I know I used to be one, we're constantly juggling everything, but we help people connect the dots. And so we have resources that help, whether you're an official, whether you're a community leader, that help people understand how climate change does impact your health, does impact your pocketbook, does impact your children and their future, and all of those things everybody cares about. We work very hard to be nonpartisan in our communications and our outreach, because it takes all of us to bring those solutions forward. So our communities are kind of where everything meets.
Jennifer, I'm so glad you mentioned policy change, because we talk so much about, we do talk about personal changes that everybody can make, right? That everybody can do something. I think I've heard Megan say over and over that from the minute you lift your head off the pillow in the morning to the minute you go to sleep at night, back to that pillow, you can really, you can make a bunch of decisions that have a positive impact on our planet, on our health. And I think, but we also need to make sure that everyone can access these changes. And so that and everyone has access to the benefits that come from climate solutions. And so really incorporating justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion in everything we do, it is about that systemic change, right? And having, for us, Climate for Health, having that health voice, having that leadership on health equity on climate solutions is a really key piece of the puzzle. And we hope to be able to amplify that work, through ecoAmerica and through our partners.
I'm really glad you mentioned justice and equity, because that's absolutely something community leaders care about a great deal, especially, in this year with all the conflict we've seen. But I can tell you a couple of great examples where that message is getting through. So, I live in Charlotte, and the conversation in transitioning our bus fleet from diesel to electric buses, we already have community leaders saying, start with the low income areas first. Make sure that those clean buses get to those areas that have been overburdened by air pollution historically through redlining, et cetera. And let's make sure we clean the air for those young people, for those families first. And so that whole conversation about equity and justice is reaching our communities.
Absolutely. It has been part of the conversation that really has not gone mainstream right? There's many folks who've been raising the flag on justice for decades, and we're just now starting to address it. So it's so important for us not only to do that in our work, but for those of you listening to understand that connection between climate justice, climate and justice. And so we hope to have more programming on that as we go. One thing that I'm hearing from all of you is this common thread that really says that the work that we're doing is about people, right? This is taking that conversation on climate change away from things that are remote and abstract to really making it personal, both on the impact side, but also on the solution side. I think another thing that we have not been talking about as much as we should be as a climate movement are the solutions. How are climate solutions meaningful? How are they personally relevant? How do we expand people's minds about what is a climate solution? And as I said, what are the benefits? People are not hearing about the benefits of these climate solutions. They're hearing about cost and consequences, which is the wrong conversation for us to be having. So talk to us about how you guys all spread the good news on climate. How do you invite people listening today even into that personally relevant climate actions, through your programs? What do they offer? And maybe we'll start with you, Annie.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So this is so important. And Megan and everyone knows how passionate I am about helping people of faith connect, again, those existing faith values, those core priorities for ministries that we've already invested so much time, our talent, our God-given resources into for, hundreds, sometimes thousands of years, right? We care about hunger, so we have to care about climate. We care about poverty, so we have to care about climate. We care about children. We care about migration issues. There's so many things that we care about as people of faith that we are actively working on and leading on in our communities. And these things are either directly the result of or catalyze or can catalyze, additional climate change impacts. And so we need to pay attention to this because we're never going to solve hunger. We're never going to solve poverty. We're not going to address systemic injustice and racism if we don't address the climate change crisis, right? So these things are interconnected. So a lot of the programming, a lot of the educational resources in terms of impacts, we really try to make that connection right off the bat. So we're connecting with what people already care about. And then of course, we're quickly moving into solutions so that we're arming people and equipping people and accompanying people to do the work themselves and to invite others into that work. And so we do that, as Rebecca mentioned, by developing really rich partnerships with these specific faith traditions. So we have partnerships with most of the largest faith traditions in the US. We work with, groups in Christianity, so the Presbyterian Church, the Lutheran Church, the Episcopal Church, historically Black churches like the AME Church and the AME Zion Church. We work with organizations in Judaism. So we work with the Religious Action Center for Reform Judaism, an organization called Dayenu that's building a climate movement of Jewish people across the US. We work with the Muslim community through the Islamic Society of North America and a variety of other organizations. So we're working through those organizations to develop clergy training, resources like our Moving Forward Guide, which I've got a copy of right here, which is a toolkit for congregations to actually go in and do the work themselves. How can they become more energy efficient? How might they think of their buildings and their community as a place of refuge in the face of climate impacts that are happening now or that might continue to happen in the future? And, what are some important ways that we can lift up our voices as people of faith? Our own research shows, but it's generally understood that the people of faith are seen as respected voices, especially with policymakers. We can really cut through the partisan divide on issues, unfortunately, like climate change. That shouldn't be a partisan issue. And so we talk about how you might consider doing that. And we have a variety of other resources. We're developing some new kind of quick fact sheets. And also we issued a set of awards through our latest American Climate Leadership Awards program, which is announced every year at our annual summit. And each of our winners put forward a really wonderful little replication guide on ways that individuals or individual communities or local faith communities might replicate the work that they did to have some successful climate action, again, at a local level. We've done a variety of other things, including put together a report with some research on how faith communities have led and moved forward other social justice movements, including things like Black Lives Matter. And so I would commend that to you all to consider and read. You can check it out on the Blessit Tomorrow website. And of course, we're continuing to listen and learn. We heard from our partners that congregations really need some easy to use tools to find financing for their congregations to do sustainability work, or if they're ready, if they've already done kind of the energy efficiency work, maybe they've installed light bulbs, maybe they've thought about taking on an energy efficient new HVAC system, and they're at the point where, you know what, we still have some energy that we need to use, and so let's think about ways we can offset the carbon emissions from that. So we put together a carbon offset program in partnership with the first in partnership with Unity and the Cool Effect offset program. So again, you can check those out on Blessit Tomorrow, but we're listening. So if there are other things that you need, you let us know and we'll think about how we can support you.
Thank you, Annie. You know, and a lot of the resources that you provide with Blessit Tomorrow are customizable, right? So you're customizing them by faith tradition, and then also offering them even on the congregational level for them to customize for their specific congregation. Absolutely. I also really like that the Moving Forward guide is in Spanish as well. So we're looking at more of those resources as we go down the path. Jennifer, talk to us about some of the things you're doing with Path to Positive Communities.
I know it's a mouthful. It's all those P's. It's like Peter Piper picked. So Path to Positive, one of the tools that we have is our ambassador program. And I was just smiling when Annie was talking about faith communities and looking at their buildings, because one of the great conversations I had recently, I actually belong to a church that has a Blessit Tomorrow ambassador who's on our creation care team. And there was a big conversation on email, of course, about whether to have hand dryers in the bathroom or paper towels. And it was all about sustainability and climate. I loved the conversation because it means that's really getting out to people to think every time there's a decision to be made, you know, there is a climate friendly answer to that decision. And one of the things that our ambassador program does, you know, we focus on community leaders. We may have some elected officials that take our ambassador training. We've had a couple of mayors take it. And it really helps people not just see how the impacts are here and now, so how they're seeing hotter days and longer, more days of heat and, more intense rainstorms. We've had incredible flooding here in North Carolina, but they're also aware of the solutions. And when you talk about customizable, absolutely, those solutions depend on where you are in the country. Because when I'm doing a training in Florida and talking about preserving the mangroves, I'm not going to have that same conversation in Utah, where I'm talking more about, keeping snow on the mountains for the ski season. So there are different impacts and different solutions. And we really work with our partners to customize it. Like the other two programs, we work with some national partners like National League of Cities, who deal with 18,000 cities around the country. We also have some more regional ones like Clean Air Carolina that works across North Carolina. And we find that there are needs, because state legislation makes a big difference. There are needs to go statewide with advocacy and really work with legislators to try to make sure that your state law is climate friendly as well. And that's what our ambassadors are trained to not just understand the connections and the solutions, very important to have those benefits and those solutions, but also how to be good advocates. How do you sign up for a city council meeting? How do you write a letter to the editor? What authentic voice can you use as a trusted messenger? And I know that Health and Faith have trusted messengers, but everybody has their own audience and people who are listening to them. So every single person can be a voice. And we try particularly hard to find those voices that have not been heard, the underrepresented communities, the disinvested communities, because those voices are really important. And I know that in the solutions area, Many of the Native American communities actually have known about solutions for centuries and have done things like cultural burnings out in the West that actually reduce the likelihood of wildfire spreading too far and too fast, and are actually really good at maintaining the natural balance. And they've been doing it for centuries. So we're starting to learn to bring those voices forward to help connect the dots for people in our ambassador program. And one other resource that we use is our weekly webcast. Path to Positive gets one a month, and each of the programs gets a webcast a month where we highlight success stories from our partners and also from the perspective of that sector. And so, I had the mayor of Baton Rouge talk about their flooding and how they're getting the word out to the community and how they're working on mitigation and resilience. And the other sectors would have health professionals or faith leaders talk about solutions and success stories from their perspective. And so one of the great things about Let's Talk Climate is that all those conversations go on our YouTube channel so people can refer to them again later. That's what we in the communities program are just a couple of the tools that we're focusing on, and absolutely trying to customize them so that different parts of our country can benefit from them.
Right, really expanding the conversation on the issue and having shareable content as well to invite more people into the discussion. So thank you, Jennifer. Rebecca, talk to us about some other resources.
So the only thing I'll add, and of course, the Climate for Health program also has a moving forward guide and our ambassadors training, like you've heard, in depth. That's the great thing about ecoAmerica is that we're able to reach, sort of in each sector and then across sectors as well. So everything that you heard about from Annie and from Jennifer, if you're a health professional tuning in, don't you fear, go to climateforhealth.org and you can find all those resources customized to health professionals as well. And so the only thing I'll add is that we also, as Megan opened up this episode with our research, everything we do at ecoAmerica is rooted in deep research. And so our actually, by the time this comes out, in about 2 months ago, we will have released health professional research that shows that health professionals actually are some of the most trusted, and that people's trust in health professionals has grown over the years as for information on climate, and also that health as the motivator for action on climate actually surpasses jobs as a motivator. We hear, jobs and green jobs, which are incredible, and we should be investing in them. But we hear that as a major part of the narrative nationally, but that health actually in our research surpassed jobs as people's #1 motivation for wanting to see climate solutions. And so again, health professionals, for you tuning in, your voice is critically important in the debate, and we encourage you to get involved. Like Jennifer said, through policy, I've seen it firsthand. When a health professional, when a practicing physician, practicing public health professional, a nurse, physical therapist, when you take time out of your job, which is saving lives, to weigh in on legislation, to weigh in on a specific issue, it must be that important. And so it's really valuable when you take time out. And also, like Megan said, to show that if you're feeling concerned about climate change, you are not alone in your concern. It's really important that we're all talking about this so that people feel part of a community, people feel part of, have a shared concern about our future. And that also goes to boost our mental health and well-being as well. And so we have also done a lot of research on mental health and climate change with our partners at the American Psychological Association. And so check our mental health report out online. We actually are just kicking off research for an updated version. So look out for that later this year. If it, later this year, maybe next year, but look out for that. We'll have it out for you, updated research on mental health and climate change, because it's becoming a larger part of the narrative. And so much work has been done on this topic since the last time we put out our report. So definitely check that out and stay in touch with us to make sure that you get the latest research right in your inbox.
Yeah, and climate concern is elevating, right? We know this, we see it in our research, and of course that has mental health implications among other things. And so something we're diving into more as more research is being done. So yeah, climate concern is elevating, so is action on the issue. So we don't want to just rest and be upset in our concern. We want to do the mental health appropriate thing and take action, right? To act on our concern. It's good to see some action on climate happening at the federal level, but as we all know, the rubber meets the road locally. And so a lot of what your work is across all your programs is helping to engage and catalyze action on the local level. So now that we know this, we know the programs, we know the resources, what's next? What can the folks listening today do to engage on this issue?
So I'll take a stab and start first. There's a sign-on letter that ecoAmerica has put together called Momentous. And, you can go to our website today and you can add your name to those who are focusing on solving the climate crisis as soon as possible. We know from every article that comes out that we need to act fast, we need to act at scale, and we all can be part of that solution. And so signing on to this letter, getting more of your organizations and friends to sign on. It talks about dramatically cutting our carbon emissions in the next 10 years, cutting them by half. We have other cities that have pledged to actually go carbon neutral in 10 years, which is fabulous. We know that so much of what's going on in the business sector is heading that way as well, but every voice makes a difference because elected leaders are hesitant to change things too fast unless they feel supported by their community. And so every single person's voice makes a difference, whether you're writing a letter to the editor, whether you're emailing your local, state, or federal official, all of those things are important. You can also, we're going to be putting together this summer, we're going to be expanding our leadership circle in all of our programs and through ecoAmerica to have more up-to-date information on what's going on at the federal level, what kinds of grants and opportunities, what's part of that American Rescue Plan that impacts climate resilience and mitigation that you can be part of, that you can advocate for. What is some of the latest information from the private sector? We want to build that community and have more people join and be able to collaborate, because one of the great things we've seen at the community level is that, just as you heard, people are not aware that other folks are concerned about climate change. And so when we have these groups of folks who are signing on together and joining an online community, all of a sudden, when there's some other issue that comes up, they've got people to connect with. So if there's bad legislation that you want to oppose, I can think of several of those recently in my state, then people who are in that same online community who can join you in that collective voice. And that's Momentous will do that at the federal level, your ambassador programs working together at a more local level, but every single person has the power to make a difference. And with social media, absolutely, some of those things can spread very quickly. And there are online communities on social media as well. We have a very active social media presence, so make sure you follow us at Path to Positive and ecoAmerica and Climate for Health and Blessit Tomorrow. They all, we have Twitter and Facebook, all those, because that helps amplify all of our voices and continues to build that community.
Yeah, definitely. And for those wanting to follow, it's Climate, the number 4 Health on Twitter. So check that out. And we also, please subscribe to our newsletters. I think, everything we've talked about today, when it's a new resource, when our partners are having events, are up, next up on Let's Talk Climate, all of that we put out through our newsletters. So make sure you make sure you subscribe. Each of our websites, climateforhealth.org/subscribe. So just make sure you do that. ecoAmerica, subscribe. So, whatever program you're interested in, whatever sector you find yourself, whatever sector motivates you to take action, join us. And you can always subscribe to all 4. We welcome that, of course. So make sure you stay in touch with us online and through our newsletter and blog series. If you're an ambassador tuning in, write a blog, send it to us. I love to post it, love to hear what you're up to, and to hear from you directly. so that everyone, again, knows they're not alone in their concern and can see the creative ways that people are acting on climate across the country.
Great. Yeah. And of course, all same for Blessit Tomorrow. So it's blessittomorrow.org/subscribe, and our Twitter and our Facebook handles. Make sure you're following us. We are really excited to be the pilot program to take the ambassador program, which again, it's a training for kind of the professional class, if you will, of our different sectors. So clergy and lay leaders within congregations for the faith sector. We've been doing those live in person before the pandemic, and then virtually as we all transitioned to virtual opportunities. But we know that while it's important to help to use those opportunities to build a sense of community and a cohort of people who are learning together and kind of growing in their climate awareness and advocacy and action together, not everyone is able to commit the amount of time. Maybe it's 3 or 4 hours in one day. And so it's important to be able to provide people with opportunities to do this at their own pace. And more, we're all moving online, right? And so we are the pilot program to launch a new learning management system where we're taking all of the really incredible curriculum from the ambassador program and putting it into modules, 15, 20-minute modules, some 10-minute modules that you can, again, take at your own pace. Maybe you do it over a course of a week, maybe you do it over a course of a month, here and there. I'm a mom of 2 kids. It's probably going to happen after bedtime for me, that kind of thing. So that will be coming very soon. We're going to launch it with Blessit Tomorrow, and then we're going to launch it with the other programs. And the great thing is we are doing a generic version for people of faith generally, but all of our partnerships with all of our faith traditions will have their own customized online curriculum. And that will live on our websites, but it'll also live on our partners' websites. So if you're an evangelical Lutheran and you want to take the online course and really get grounded in your own unique theological grounding for that, or your own unique advocacy opportunities through the ELCA National Advocacy Office, you would take that particular curriculum. So it's really exciting. Stay tuned. And of course, I mentioned some of those great resources earlier. These are developed for you all, anyone listening, to use, to share with others. I think especially some of these new 1 to 2 page fact sheets, they're really intended to be shared among each other. You can give them to friends, family, others in your congregation, if you're a person of faith, or others in your community. And we encourage you to do that, to share those. Share it by email. They're all online. You can send people links, make a Twitter post and share out some of the latest research that Rebecca was referencing. The more we're all talking about this, sharing information with others and inviting them into action, the faster we're going to be able to reach those important goals that Jennifer referenced that we're hoping to see through the Momentous campaign.
I want to just add one thing. When you talk about shareable resources, I'm very much aware as a former elected official of the digital divide. And so one of the things that we are putting together as well are these 2-page fact sheets on climate action that we don't like to print in general because, you're killing trees, but for those who don't have internet access, that's right. It's important to do. We do have a few that you can, print front and back, but hand out at a community meeting so that those who are not able to go online still have some quick ideas of things they can do to help, because we want everyone to be included.
Thank you for mentioning that, Jennifer. It's so important. It's so important to reach folks who are most impacted, have the most to gain from solutions, and do so in ways that are accessible to them. So thank you for all that you do to ensure that we're reaching those folks, to provide the tools and resources to empower them and to inspire them. We all need some inspiration on climate, because inspiration leads to action. And of course, we all know we need more action on the issue. So thank you for all that you're doing to help with that, and for joining today. And thank you to all of you who are listening. I hope you will join us in seeing what you can do every day to do more on climate. It can be self-affirming, it can be rewarding, and certainly benefit not only your health and well-being, but that of your friends, your family, all those around you, and your community as well. We do these episodes every week, and in them we provide more information and tools and resources for you to engage on this issue. So please join us each Thursday for our Let's Talk Climate episodes. As we ask to engage with us online using the hashtag Let's Talk Climate. You can find past episodes on our ecoAmerica YouTube channel, including many on climate justice. So please do look for those, but also for faith and health and local communities. We do one a month per channel. And as we've mentioned, be sure to subscribe and follow us in our social media channels. There you're going to find the latest thought leadership. You want to see our latest resources hot off the press and you have first access to them. And of course, learn what the upcoming episodes are for Let's Talk Climate and opportunities for climate action and advocacy. So a lot you can do with us. We look forward to seeing you online, and we look forward to seeing you in future Let's Talk Climate episodes. I want to thank everyone today and say, see you soon. I hope that, that you are well and that you join us all in spreading inspiration and inspiring action on climate change. Thank you.
Thanks,
everybody.
Bye.